Alright, welcome back everyone. It's David, aka Fairmere4731. I'm bringing you a matchup on the grassy flats, and this is going to be an all Prussia versus all France matchup. Over here, opposed to me on the left flank is going to be a new friend of mine, Rocor. Then you can see there is, over here on the opposite flank, I think Napoleon I, who's going to be facing up against on the right flank, my son, who's 9 years old, and this is one of his first online games. And then MTS and Warfighter are going to be bringing up the mid for us in Prussia. So things are going to heat up quite rapidly for us over here. And I am going to tear up this flank as quickly as I can. I know that Jackson, being a new player, he's going to need help, and I'm all the way on the other opposite end. We're going to have to speed this up as quickly as possible. You'll see that we make short work of this flank over here. Okay, so over in the mid, you can see that Warfighter is basically having a goon engagement here in the center. Alright, so over here on the flank for my son, you can see that things are heating up quite quickly. He has thrown a goon charge in here to his the opponent's tier lures, and he's committing another one right here. One of his goons did rout off. He is starting to rout out these two tier lures that he got engaged, so doing some damage. You can see he's bringing up a line to take on these other tier lures here. I definitely like seeing the aggression, and he is definitely getting some results here. But you can see Garde du Corps came in here as a counter charge for the French, and he's starting to shoot up all the cav here that's jumped up with his tier lures. But you can see his line is starting to get some shots in those tier lures, and then he's pushing up the rest of his forces now. Okay, so over here on my flank, you can see I've wrapped up all my cav in the back over here against my opponent, and he's starting to try to pull his forces over to reinforce his ally in the center and make a stand over there. So I am wrapping up the mid and the right flank of him and just starting to push over to help Warfighter over here. And you can see that Warfighter and MTS are definitely heavily engaged over here in the all the center fight. See all the tier lures massed up to MTS's flank over there. Over here, my son, he's grouping up all of his lines, unfortunately, in too dense of formation, and he is getting charged by some grenadiers here, and I don't believe this is going to go well. You can see this is a problem when you form up in dense formations. You see his lines are not getting full volleys on these grenadiers. If you had been more spread out, his ranks would have been a little deeper in the firing, and yeah, that wasn't good at all. He lost about half strength on his one of his lines right there in that grenade throw. But he is charging. He is not sitting back. One of his lines did get tore up pretty hard there on that second grenade throw, but he is going to charge into those grenadiers, so he's not sitting back, and I do like seeing that. Alright, so here comes over here in the back of the center. You can see my hussars are starting to sweep through the back of the French lines, and I just took out the one of the center's general, one of the center players' general right there with my hussar attack, and we're just trying to sweep them out. You can see here my second hussars were in action, and I am coming around the back of the first center player that was on my side, and we're starting to wrap them up with the remnants of the army I face. So you can see this action is progressing quite rapidly. Okay, so see there's still a little bit of melee action in for one of my son's lines, and he's got one of his lines over there shooting into the mass of the French players' units in there. And over here, pushing back to my side, you can see my allocation of my troops as we just continue to push and envelop this player. Now, so at this point, you can see my 3 Hussar units. I'm going to push them continually behind, and I'm going to try to set up a charge in the rear of the units that are facing my son's units, just to hold and slow down the action against him, help him last out a little bit longer. We are just continually enveloping this French player here on the mid. Now we're wrapping up the remnants of the first mid player and going to the second one. MTS here is trying to keep him from reinforcing the flank player. His goons got some nice fall. And here goes my Hussar charge into the back of this player. You can see they're coming in. Here we go. So I'm going to push into the back of these lines, and I'm going to smash into the tirelers. Here goes the tirelers. And I'm just going to try and cause as much disruption as I possibly can. That way it'll slow down any of the units shooting on Jackson's army there. So that does slow down the action quite a bit, thankfully. And you can see over here, MTS has got his cav in a cav engagement over here on the flank. Okay, and you can see that we've got the center player almost wrapped up completely. Just got a few holdout units for him. Okay, and Warfighter's going to make a goon charge on their tirelers here. You can see that action up close and personal. Alright, so his cav holding back those tirelers for a little bit was allowing my lines to continue to envelop. And I will say hats off to our French opponents. They definitely put up a good resistance and held out for quite a while. But now you can see their resistance is becoming less severe as we have just eliminated pretty much all their long range units, and we are picking them apart one unit at a time. You can see Warfighter's lights are just shooting them up from a distance, and MTS's cav is wrapped up the remnants over there. So my son is down to 160 men unit of light dragoons, so that's all he has left. But he's taken down actually quite a few of his French opponent. But good game to both of them. You can see here's the final engagement of the tirelers versus me and Warfighter's Jaegers. And that pretty much wraps it up. So again, good game to our opponents. A good game to Warfighter and MTS, and of course, good game to my son, Jackson, for his one of his first online matches. He did really well. And you can see here we are fighting together, my line infantry and his light dragoons. Father and son on the battlefield. And that pretty much wraps it up. So, again, Rocor is one of the opponents on the French, and I'll leave a link in the description to his channel. Don't forget to check out him. And again, thanks again, everyone. We will see you on the next battle. I hope you enjoyed it.